So guys, this particular section is going to talk about the knowledge panel and what that actually means, how to trigger it, and some of the things that you have to do. It's not quite as simple and easy as it may seem to trigger a knowledge panel. There is a lot of mistakes I've made. I've wasted a lot of months, a lot of time and a lot of money and effort in doing things the wrong way. There is actually a process to this, a knack to it. But many guys in the industry, such as Jason Bernard, have been speaking about brand SERPs and how important it is to have that knowledge panel. Basically calling it things like it is your online business card, which is right. Obviously, if you look at a knowledge panel, which we will in a minute, you'll be able to see people's social media, their dates of birth, their family, their website, Twitter carousel, and a whole bunch of other stuff that's on there. So it really is hugely important to do that, to dominate your brand SERP. On the right hand side, if you Google your name, if you are successful in getting that knowledge panel, you will have a massive amount of the landscape there, and that really is where you want to be at. It's hugely important, and as I say, guys like Jason Bernard and many others have spoken about this for many years, and this is probably the year to start taking that a bit more seriously. I was also in your shoes. I was like, it's not that important. It is important, especially if you're building a personal brand. But not just for building a personal brand, you do want to do it anyway. Take up more of the landscape, more of the space, and make sure that you are visible in front of a lot more people. So we'll dive in and we'll talk a bit more about what the knowledge panel actually is and what it can show. So let's actually have a look at what the knowledge panel actually is. So I've got three people. I've mentioned Jason Bernard before, Alida Solis, and Brian Dean. So that's a mixture of people in the digital marketing space. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's digital marketing or whether it's musicians or whatever. The knowledge panel is the knowledge panel, so it doesn't really matter. But given I'm in the digital marketing space, given that you're probably in the digital marketing space, these are the best ones to look at. So if someone Googles Brian Dean, for example, you'll see his website and probably a whole bunch of his other profiles, Twitter, interviews, Moz, LinkedIn, and so on. Now, people can look at that and all of that kind of stuff, but this is the knowledge panel here on the right hand side, and you'll see Brian Dean, American entrepreneur. He's got a bunch of images there, his domain, his date of birth, all nationality, his profiles, and also what is quite important is there are other people in the industry, such as Rand Fishkin, Seth Godin, and a whole bunch of other people. So someone could potentially be looking at Rand Fishkin, for example, doing some research on Rand Fishkin, having a look at this, and then boom, Larry Kim's on there. So people, you can drive huge amounts of traffic, not only by you're utilising other people's brands. So Larry Kim, for example, it's Google suggesting people also search for, and it's got a whole bunch of other people, Cindy Crum there, Jason Bernard, Just Devok, Bastien Grimm, Matt Cutts, there's a whole bunch of other people there, so it's driving traffic, relevant traffic. It's just a thing that you have to do. Now, as I say, that's Brian Dean's Brian Dean's knowledge panel there. Now, some people have fairly good knowledge panels that are padded out. Alida Solis, another great person in our industry, she has a little bit less details on there. Again, pictures of Alida, who has never changed over the years. She's the only person that gets older and looks younger. Education and stuff like that. So there's not a whole lot of personal detail the same way that Brian Dean's got. And Jason Bernard, who loves the knowledge graph, who works on this stuff a great deal, and probably is the hardest working guy in terms of this type of thing, is going to have a lot more. So you've got Jason's face. He's a British-French musician. He done musical stuff, and believe he created his own cartoon back in the day. So he's got a whole load of other stuff. prior to joining the digital industry, but he's got his SEMrush profile, YouTube, Deezer, his age, parents, children, albums that he's brought out, the TV show that I mentioned there, some other stuff, including his social media profile. So Jason has worked hard to pad his out, where some other people literally have next to nothing. So I'm just going to go through some people here. So here's Hamlet Batista, and again, you know, that is a profile that is not got a huge amount on there. So there are certain parts of the knowledge panel that you can further advance and take up more of that landscape. And I think Jason Bernard is a good example of someone who's fleshed that out a great deal and takes up a hell of a lot of the landscape for that particular, for his own brand. And that is what you essentially want to do. That is what the knowledge panel is. And how is that important? Well, it's great for your ego. It's great for taking advantage of other people in the industry when people are looking at them. That can drive traffic to you, and it's just great all round. It's an online business card, as Jason has called it in many conferences and webinars and everything else that he's done. He talks, you know, he's even got on here who specialises in the brand SERPs and knowledge panels. He is known as the brand SERP guy, and that is his thing. The importance of having that is vital. You know, it drives a huge amount of traffic. Now, bear in mind, for example, someone like me, if I Google Craig Campbell, I have a knowledge graph, and I'll go into further detail on this, but I've also got someone with the same name who's a comedian. So when someone Googles my name, they're potentially hit with this comedian up top. I'm second, his Twitter's third, my Twitter's fourth, he's got a Wikipedia, then it's my LinkedIn and so on. So I want to grab as much of that landscape as I can, and I want that to be my knowledge panel when someone Googles my name. So it's hugely important when someone's Googling your brand that you take up that landscape, and that is the job that I'm going to try to achieve. Little bit difficult for me because I've got one of those names where people have that name. It's not the most uncommon name, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me, and that's where I've made mistakes along the line, which we'll go into in further detail. But you want to dominate that knowledge panel for your name. Now, that's a person knowledge panel. If you Google Craig Campbell SEO, you also get a business knowledge panel, which is that thing there, which comes from your GMB, and that can take up a lot of the landscape and provides a whole different set of results. No longer is the comedian there, it's my business. But that is not about me personally, that is about my business. I want that brand SERP, when someone just Googles my name, to show me the stuff about me. That's what I want people to be able to see when they Google Craig Campbell, and that is what I'm supposed to be able to achieve as a digital marketer. But as I say, it's not that simple, it's not that easy, but that is what the knowledge panel is. And in the next bunch of videos, you will see how you go about that, some of the mistakes to avoid, and some of the things that you may need to buy along the way to help you trigger that knowledge panel. So hopefully you enjoy the videos, and hopefully you can go some way to getting your knowledge panel.